ogradivši nas, znovu primjer čestinija Tvoje slavi, sohranjajuše i pribježno i vopijuši, odjeri zvalidi, ako čino načali.
Convicted, and he's going to be convicted of murder. He is convicted. He's going to be executed. But Herod had married a lady named Miriam, technically Miriamne, but it's Miriam in English, right? And she was the very last of the Hasmoneans. We talked about that kingdom of the Maccabees, right? She's the very last of that line, and her father is the high priest. So what does he do? He sneaks his brother-in-law Herod out of the temple. Now Herod has to run away because now he's a fugitive. They talk about being from governor to fugitive, right? Okay? And he has heard of this old fortress the Hasmoneans built on this mountain in the middle of nowhere, right here, that he'll be safe. So he takes his wife and his mother-in-law, and his wife and his sister and his mother and his wife. I'm sorry, his sister does not, and his mother do not get along with his wife. So there's family issues going on here, okay? The fact that we even know this is really funny, and this is all so much written about it. He's going to run off here to Masada and hide, okay? It was a great place to hide. And eventually he's going to sneak off to Petra. We all heard about Petra now in Jordan. That's the capital of the Nabatean Empire, and they are going to help him get to Rome, where he's going to be reunited with his old college friends who rule Rome, and eventually he will return here as king, okay? So why am I telling you this? We don't really have to know about Herod's past, but I want you to remember that group up in the Galilee that was kind of violent, right? And I'm not saying they didn't follow the laws and love God. They're kind of violent. Now, many, many years have passed, okay? And what's going to happen is Herod as a king is so paranoid that he wants to build himself palaces everywhere, beautiful palaces, but he wants them far away and all over the place. And so outside of Jerusalem, he takes a mountain and he builds it up artificially, but he makes it look like it's a natural mountain, just taller. And then inside he builds a fortress and a fancy palace. So he can like be camouflaged. He can go just out of Jerusalem and be camouflaged in a palace. But then he builds this big Olympic-sized swimming pool down below so everybody knows there's something there. So that's where he was buried in the end, incidentally. It was his favorite place, was called Herodian. He built a fortress in what today is Jordan called Michbar. He built a lot of fortresses. And he came here, a place he remembered from his past. and said, this mountain, nobody can ever get out here. So first thing he does is he takes these cliffs and he says, he's so paranoid, he puts walls around it. You don't need walls for protection. He doesn't put walls, he puts double walls. If you look carefully, it's a double wall, okay? And the double walls are divided into rooms like you saw in the movie, all right? So now he's totally protected once, twice, 3 times, by the cliff, by the wall, by the other wall, right? And what does he build on top? He builds this most stunning palace in the world. Well, I don't know in the world. But you see, Herod spent a lot of time in Rome. There's an island off of Rome that has this beautiful palace. I'm talking about a 2,000-year-old palace. It's archaeology now. That has 3 verandas going down, right? The middle one is a pool, and the other 2 are just fancy, almost like palaces, right? And Herod was there. And he says, I'm going to build that here. He built an exact copy of this amazing palace from an island off of Italy, right? And not only that, he builds himself a huge, gigantic bathhouse for himself, in a private palace for himself and maybe his closest friends. He builds a bathhouse that could fit 100 people for maybe 5, right? And then he builds another palace. And around that palace, he builds mini palaces. And then he builds another big bathhouse. You know what a Roman bathhouse is, right? You go in a cold room, a tepid room, a hot room. You get in the hot room and it's like a dry sauna. We'll walk through one of those and you'll see, right? It's a spa. So mini palaces around a big spa complex, isn't that a resort? I just want to put it in our terms. You know there are really big fancy resorts? He built the biggest, fanciest resort in the world in the middle of nowhere in the desert. Who's ever even going to come here, right? And of course he's going to leave a staff of servants here and soldiers to keep it safe and to keep it functioning, so if he ever does decide to visit, he can come. That's what Herod does. Pour water, okay, right in the canyons, okay? And what should happen, because Victoria's going to create a flash flood on this mini exact topographical model, right? Yeah. Okay, our technology is breaking down here, but, okay, and you guys watch how those dams and those aqueducts carry the water. See how far that water is going to go. Now you see all those dots? That's where Herod put the big, huge cisterns that are about double the size of the one you just saw, okay? So you can see how the water makes it all the way down there. As long as nature provides a flash flood, the same way, Victoria, you just provided for us this flash flood. So you get the idea how it works? Thank you so much. That's it. You can see the path there, incidentally, that he made for the people to go up and down with the water, which is why I'm saying that the concept that P.F. Person says, I want to be safe. I don't want to have to worry if I can make a living. I want to make sure my family always has a house and is always fed. Today we do it by salaries and money. In the ancient world, in my opinion, it was done by...
526. Then the building was destroyed by the Samaritans in 529. Then Emperor Justinian, he rebuilt it again in this shape in 533. So in 614 even, the Persians, when they invaded the Holy Land, they destroyed all the churches in the Holy Land except this church. So they didn't destroy this church because Justinian, he put a mosaic for the 3 wise men on the entrance of the church. And you know the wise men, they are Persians, and they're